Okay, I see. Here, I'm gonna.
Okay. When I was turning on I know. When I turn on my microphone, there's feedback. Maybe it's because I'm talking. I'll turn off the cell phone. When I turn on my microphone, Mark, I turn because I'm talking. I'll turn off the cell phone. When I turn on my microphone, Mark, I turn because I'm talking. I'll turn off the cell phone. When I turn on my Mark, I turn because I'm talking. We're testing it out. We're testing it out. All right.
Oh, your YouTube link?
That was the problem.
So they're funny, right? Because they'll make notes on things like, I sent this to Ruby and she didn't sign it. Yeah, because your counterpart gave me a date of 4/23.
I'm just trusting you.
So they're participation components. So anytime you deal with a component BOCES, they each have their own
Hi, Cheryl.
Hello.
There was there was some feedback when Mark and I were testing it out earlier.
Okay.
I had the YouTube screen showing. There was some feedback. Yeah, Mark and I were testing it out earlier.
Okay.
So you're watching through the YouTube, right? You have both up.
So I have, you know what, you're talking double, like it's, there's a lag or
You're
something.
watching through the YouTube. So you might want to mute if you can. Yeah. So you might want to mute. Yeah. So
Okay, there we
so
go. I just muted YouTube. Perfect.
okay. And if yeah, so if that doesn't work, you know, if you wanted to bring a laptop down here or something, then and just monitor one screen.
Yep, that works.
Yeah.
With muting YouTube, that works because now I can see you, so I can see your thing. I'm watching and can hear you. There's definitely an echo. So Melissa Graff just texted us that, so I'm going to ask her.
Well, just wait for Mark because there was an echo. It definitely went away.
Okay,
But
good.
Let's just see though what Mark says for us.
All right.
If not, you probably need to get out of one thing and just maybe come down here. So Mark, when you get a chance, let Cheryl know if there is still an echo. Cheryl, can you say a few words?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Okay. No feedback, no echo. Okay, so that's good. So it's working so far.
All right. Oh. I'm not on the YouTube screen. Oh, there I am. I just came back.
I know this world, we didn't go to school to be media journalists, but it's still good. So we should be, I mean, we're live right now, Cheryl, just so you know.
Yep.
And we'll get started in 3 minutes.
Alrighty.
All right.
So I guess there's going to be a little lag with the chat.
Yeah, that's okay.
So maybe that means I can stay on top of it.
Right.
So, okay. So right now, you and I talking about the live chat and lag is, so it goes on to YouTube too.
You're right. Correct.
Got it. Understood. And somebody just said, everyone sounds fine now. Somebody just, a Jen just typed that in. So that's good.
Yeah, that is good. Thank you, Jen. So just so you know, Cheryl, I can't see the YouTube channel. I'm just going to do my thing and you interrupt me when something, you know, a big question comes through, or if you're clustering all the common questions and it doesn't seem like you know for sure what I'm covering tonight. So if there's something unique that I'm not covering, let me know.
Okay, hold on. Don't start yet because my YouTube just went somewhere. All right, you sent out the parent forum direct link. Okay, it's back. So on mine, Dr. Graham, it says, so I can, Melinda Rice just texted you live, right? And then it says, say something. And when I go to click on it, like a hello or a thank you, it just says create a channel to join the chat.
Who said that?
It's mine, so it won't, I can read the chat.
Okay, well, that's good.
Okay.
You're having trouble. You personally can't type in the chat features while you're saying.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Well, it's good that you can read it and just keep track of everything for us.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna get going, okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. It's 6 o'clock, and I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I really genuinely say that from the heart. It is a busy time in all of our lives. I know some of you might be watching from your phone at soccer practice or from your kitchen or living room or dining room, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us to learn more about the New York State Department of Health guidance that just came out last Friday, April 9th, and to learn more about our plans. I do sincerely thank you. I want to thank all of our parents, our entire community, all community members, teachers, staff, administrators, for really being role models for our children during this time. You are demonstrating the ability to be adaptable, to be flexible, and to demonstrate resilience during a worldwide pandemic. I can't thank you enough for what you're doing to support your children, your neighbors, people down the street, your own family, your extended family. This has really been a trying time in all of our lives. And I'm grateful for everything that this community has to offer all of the citizens and all of our children. So it's really a pleasure to spend some time with you today to go over this guidance. Cheryl Cardone is on the line. Cheryl is our Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Services. She's also our COVID star, and she understands a lot about COVID. And her and I went through all of the feedback and all the questions. We may have missed a few, but we generated a list of things that were frequently asked. So I do plan not only in sharing with you the new guidance and our plans, but also frequently asked questions that you've already posed to us in the survey. And with that said, I also want to thank you for responding to surveys. The response rate is fantastic. In almost every survey we send out, we're genuinely impressed with your responses. So thank you. In the survey that we sent out Tuesday, we sent it to students, to community leaders, to parents, teachers, and staff. So I, again, want to stress thank you very much for taking the time to review it, to review the video I sent out on Tuesday, and to give us that feedback. It's really appreciated. I also want to mention that Ruby Harris, our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance, is on. She's going to assist Cheryl in any of the questions that you may be posing in the YouTube Live channel. Excuse me. So thank you for their presence here tonight. And I think that's it. I will apologize to start because some of the slides are redundant because you may have already watched the video that I sent out, but you also may not have had a chance to watch the video or fill out the survey. So you may be new. This link went out to the entire community. So this little recap may be very important for people who haven't had a chance to learn more about this new guidance. So to get started, it's so important to communicate that the New York State Department of Health sent out this guidance on Friday around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And our team, worked together on this over the weekend, and we put together a big presentation for the Board of Education. Then we made a video and sent it out to the community on Tuesday. So I do want to mention that it's important for me to touch on some of the key pieces here in this new guidance. So let's get started. Schools and districts may choose to reduce physical distancing to no less than 3 feet between students during academic instruction. However, school districts must follow the CDC recommendations for physical distancing depending upon community transmission rates and grade levels. In some slides ahead, I will actually take you to the CDC website and show you what that means with respect to community transmission and grade levels. That's
Dr. Graham, before you go on to the next slide, there's a person on. Nick, I do see you're online. I know you have a question. Dr. Graham's going to go through the presentation and then we'll take questions a little bit at the end. It won't be long. I can't type. I can only read, so I'm addressing that now. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. So I highlight must and I put it in yellow because these are the words from the New York State Department of Health. And so we must follow this guidance. Schools must adhere to the exceptions where a minimum of 6 feet of distance must be maintained. And according to the Department of Health and the CDC, due to evidence that transmission risk ranges by the age of the student, the CDC recommends that physical distancing requirements differ by that grade level and by the community transmission risk. They also indicate that evidence shows that there is a lower susceptibility and incidence of COVID-19 transmitted among younger children than compared to teenagers. Therefore, in-person instruction represents less risk of on-site transmission in elementary schools compared to middle and high schools. CDC has developed 4 levels of indicators and thresholds for community transmission of COVID-19. On this slide, I'm going to cover 3 of the 4. So in counties with low and moderate risk of transmission, so low and moderate risk are 2 of the 4 levels, elementary, middle, and high schools can maintain physical distancing of at least 3 feet between students in classrooms. In counties with substantial risk of transmission, and that's the 3rd level, elementary, middle, and high schools can maintain physical distancing at least 3 feet between students. So ultimately, they're saying if your county is in low, moderate, or substantial risk of transmission, you can still reduce the distancing to 3 feet in all of your schools. Additionally, they talk about the 4th level of an indicator or threshold. So in counties with high risk, which is that 4th level of transmission, elementary schools can maintain physical distancing of at least 3 feet between students in classrooms, and cohorting, of course, is recommended. However, in middle and high schools, 3 feet between students in classrooms is recommended only when schools can cohort. When schools cannot maintain cohorting, middle and high schools must maintain physical distancing of at least 6 feet between students in classrooms. So obviously, this new guidance is very important. And it's also important for us to talk about cohorting. Cohorting is just that small group of students who stay together all day and move from classroom to classroom. As you know, that's exactly how elementary schools function, but at the secondary level, that's not how they function. Kids intermingle throughout the day with different students and different classes. So if you go to the CDC website, and I hope to do that with you tonight, you'll see those 4 levels, or those 4 indicators of transmission risk. You can see the blue is the low transmission, and yellow is moderate, substantial is orange, and red is the high transmission rate. You'll also see that their definition, the CDC's definition of high transmission rate, is 100 or greater than 100 new cases per 100,000 people in your county over a 7-day period. So what that means is if there are more than 100 individuals who test positive for COVID-19 per the 100,000 people in your county over a 7-day period, that's what would get you into that red zone, or the high transmission rate. In our county, we are right now deemed to be in that red zone. Also, in the second row, they use the percentage of nucleic acid amplification testing to determine that positivity rate as well. So if you go to the website, this is what it looks like. In fact, I'm going to click the link, and I'm going to share this tab. Cheryl, let me know if the CDC website popped up on your screen.
The COVID data tracker, yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So this is how school districts can monitor, how parents and community members can monitor our county's transmission rate and the level it's in. So first you got to choose the state. So we'll choose New York. And then you got to choose the county. So we'll choose Erie County. So you can see that most of the counties in New York State are deemed to be in that high transmission rate. And of course, here is Erie County. And if you scroll down, you have these little tools that you can use. And right now, there are the transmission rate is 358 per every 100,000 people here in Erie County, and that is a change of about 6%. This bar you can interact with this bar, and you can move the table and take a look at, say, even the last few days. So I'm going to go from March 21st to April 12th, and you can see that there has been a steady incline. Hopefully, it's sloping downward over here, so hopefully that's good news for us. But you can see that steady incline of the transmission rate in our county. And if you're interested in more of the data, you can scroll down and look at the unfortunate deaths that have occurred and the percent of positivity and the testing volume and so forth. So that is how the CDC tracks this information. Now hold on, I think I have to go back to my original screen. Cheryl, can you see my slide now?
I can.
Okay, great. So again, I just took some screenshots of what I showed you. When I built this, it was based on information from April 6th over here. So you can see that it kind of takes you step by step, just as I just showed you, to look at Erie County in particular. And you can see that when I did this on April 6th, there were 337 cases per every 100,000. And just as I showed you now, that number has increased. Excuse me. So thank you for taking the time to take a look at that website with me. So as you know, in March, we sent out a parent survey. We talked about our commitment to full-time in-person instruction as soon as we can responsibly, safely, and legally do so. And we asked the question, if guidance changes or existing guidance is reinterpreted to allow for full-time in-person instruction, which model would you choose? Full-time in-person or 100% remote? And as you can see, there were 91% of the respondents who said full-time in-person instruction, and 8.5% said 100% remote. That was out of 1,281 responses. And that 1,281 responses is representative of about 2,000 students. I will say sometimes there are glitches at home and there are duplicate entries, but we do look at that as well. So here's some important information. First, let me just go over these frequently asked questions, and hopefully you'll get all the information that you came here to see and hear. As the physical distancing guidance change, has the guidance changed? And of course, here I'm saying yes. It was issued Friday. Elementary schools can now be resumed with 3 feet of distancing between students, and we plan on doing that on April 26th. For secondary schools, the physical distancing requirement has not changed, as reflected by that community transmission indicator. When schools cannot maintain cohorting at middle and high school, we must maintain physical distancing of 6 feet, which would keep us at hybrid at the middle school and high school. So, will elementary students return to 5 days a week of full-time in-person learning? Yes, that'll occur on starting April 26th at Sidway, Huth, and Kegabyne. Another frequently asked question was, will transportation be provided for the full return of the elementary program? And the answer is yes. We should be able to maintain 21 or 22 students per bus based on the fact that last September, we changed the start and end times of all of our schools to reduce the density of our school buses. Will secondary students return to 5 days a week of full-time in-person learning? The answer is no, and that's based upon the new guidance and its connection to the community transmission rate. We need to wait until the county moves out of the red zone. When the county moves out of the red zone and becomes orange, yellow, or blue, then we can evaluate where we are and perhaps bring kids back before the end of the school year. And as I've already suggested, we do not cohort in small groups of having kids go class to class together. It's just not done at the middle school or high school level. So what really has changed for our secondary students? So if you're a secondary student in grades 6 through 12, or you're a parent and you have a student in grades 6 through 12, some of the frequently asked questions we're wondering, well, what really has changed? So the big news tonight, and what I shared in the video, was that secondary students who are hybrid virtual or 100% virtual will follow their schedule and view their teacher live casting lessons every day starting on April 26th. So once again, my son Sean is hybrid, so he comes to school on Monday and Thursdays. So for Sean, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, he'll be able to still see his teacher live casting every day. So I hope that is clear for everybody. So a lot of the people in the survey, really said, hey, Brian, Dr. Graham, you were really against this. And I was, right? I spoke a lot about privacy and student privacy. So the frequently asked question, are you still concerned about student privacy when teaching and learning is live casted? The answer is yes, I am still concerned. Please keep in mind that students with unique needs are part of our school community, and occasionally something unusual occurs in a classroom. And I ask that all of our students and all of their caregivers maintain the privacy of our students if something unusual happens. Many of you know that I was a special ed teacher for 16 years, a principal for 13, assistant sup, and now a superintendent for 5 years. Things happen in classrooms, and I really, really ask that people maintain the privacy of another student who may have some difficulty in a classroom, and it's seen or heard by others outside of that fellow student, others in the family. So thank you for respecting that privacy. Do I have to drop off and pick up my elementary child? No. However, if you want to do so, you absolutely are free to do so. Will transportation be provided for the full return of the elementary program? And again, that answer is yes. And I just wanted to show you, just in this table, what that means even today. So at Sidway, if there are 371 students who are in-person hybrid students, and on April 26th will be in person for 5 full days, those 371 students are split on 18 school buses, which gives us 21 students per bus. That allows us to sit 1 student per seat throughout the entire bus. Of course, siblings can always sit with each other. That's not an issue. But this 21 per bus allows us to reduce the density and keep kids 1 seat at a time. And of course, that kids have to wear masks when they get on the bus and when they're seated on the bus. For Huth and Kegabyne, there are 376 students at Huth. We use 15 buses right now for Huth students, so that would put us at 23 per bus, and it would put us at 22 per bus for Kegabyne. So we think that naturally, the parents who drop off or pick up, or we have walkers at Huth and Kegabyne who are just right in that neighborhood. If that maintains the way it is, those numbers go down. Remember, the 376 number and the 352 number does not subtract for the kids who are dropped off or picked up or who walk to school. So we are very confident that our transportation will be safe and will keep kids physically distant from each other. Some people asked about class sizes in the survey. If 100% of our students choose the in-person model, our class sizes range from as low as 18 to as high as 23. The way to read this chart is these 3 columns represent Sidway, with students in kindergarten and first grade, the number of teachers and the class sizes by average. This is youth, the number of students for second, third, fourth, and fifth, the number of teachers that work with those students, and the class sizes attributed to those classes. And then at Kegabyne, same thing, second, third, fourth, and fifth, the number of teachers and the number of class sizes. So I hope it helps to answer some of the questions we got in the survey. Will the 100% remote elementary students have a new teacher? And the answer is yes. Starting April 26th, we will have a 100% virtual teacher for each grade level, K through 5. So parents who choose 100% remote will have a dedicated teacher for their children who will provide synchronous and virtual teaching and learning every day. Will the 100% remote elementary students need to commit to being 100% remote for the remainder of the school year? So that answer is yes, starting April 26th. If your family is choosing 100% remote until the end of the year, please make sure you communicate that with your principal. Cheryl, I'm just going to pause for a second. Any questions come up, or anybody asking for anything to clarify based on what I presented?
Yeah, a few things. I'm trying to chunk them because I would wish I could answer them, but it won't let me type. But one of them is one SPAC 5 days a week. If they're quarantined for 10 days, how can they keep on top of their schoolwork still?
Okay.
Right now, no big deal. They just view the weekly calendar that is in Google Classroom.
Okay, so we have a couple slides that talk about quarantining, and then Cheryl and I can go into that hopefully for families. All right.
A couple are about barriers, which you're getting to right now, so I'm going to leave that one alone. And then there's stuff about quarantining and contract tracing. So keep going, and I'll go through the rest of these.
All right, perfect. And thanks for your help. Excuse me. So there is no doubt that I got a ton of feedback on barriers. So, and families were right? They said the CDC, the March guidance, physical barriers are no longer recommended for the mitigation where physical distancing cannot be maintained. So, of course, earlier in the week, I indicated we would keep the barriers. I'm getting a lot of feedback from all of you, teachers and parents. So I plan on taking a walk with our principals in the days ahead, walking to classrooms, talking to teachers, and making a final decision about that. But really, the message is loud and clear that CDC is saying no barriers, parents are asking for it, so more than likely we will move in that direction. Does my child still need to wear a mask? The answer is yes, it is mandatory. We are fortunate that our entire community has been extremely compliant with this requirement. If you who are viewing this now joined Cheryl and I in August for one of the 3 parent forums that we had, that was probably one of the major areas of concern for families and teachers and so forth. And I have to tell you, our parents have done a tremendous job preparing their children for this mandate. We really see extremely compliant children, and we're very, very proud of them for protecting themselves with the masks. Will there still be mask breaks? Nothing really has changed with respect to our teachers accommodating the need for a child to have a mask break. The only variable is that as long as the student needs a mask break and that we're following 6 feet of physical distancing in the classroom, we should be fine. So here's that question, Cheryl, you just talked about. How will contact tracing change? I was part of a webinar with the New York State Department of Health this week. They indicated that contact tracing still will follow this set of guidelines. So contact tracing will first look at the close contacts who were within 6 feet of distance to the infected individual. And if that 6 feet of distance happened for 10 or more minutes during the entire school day, then the close contact and the infected person would be quarantined. Cheryl, this might be a good time for you to jump in. I know that you work very, very closely with the Erie County Department of Health on the various situations that we've had already this year. So, I mean, that's our basic understanding, but Cheryl, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yes, and then I want to get back to masks and barriers for a minute because there's a lot of talk about masks and barriers. So we'll do this first. So forever it has been. I work with Laura Nicholas. She is the Erie County liaison, and yes, the quarantining is if you are near anybody 6 feet of distance or closer for longer than 10 minutes, then yes, quarantining does have to take place. There was a question on here a few minutes ago about wonder if the person has antibodies or is vaccinated. Antibodies, it really doesn't apply, but if you are vaccinated and you have both vaccinations and you are 2 weeks out or within a 90-day window, you do not have to quarantine whatsoever. So if a child does come back to school and is vaccinated and it's 2 weeks since his or her last vaccination, then they will not have to quarantine according to the Erie County Department of Health.
Okay.
And then I get back to, there's a lot of talk about barriers.
Sure.
Questions about the barriers that the CDC, why are we picking and choosing CDC guidelines when the CDC is saying that barriers have to come down or barriers don't have to be put up? So the chatter in the chat boxes, so why can't we start April 26th with all of the barriers down, which is a CDC recommendation?
Yep. So I think I cover that, right? We're going to, I'm listening to the feedback. I appreciate all the feedback. I'm going to take a walk with our principals and talk to teachers and make a final decision very soon. Okay.
Another question about masks, and it's both sides. Why do we have to wear masks, which I think you already talked about as far as that's a mandate. But also if we don't have barriers, what's going to, happen with the masks and the mask breaks. I'm trying to look again. The kids wear masks all day now with barriers. So a lot of debate on mask wearing and not mask wearing. And then also some debate on keeping schools closed versus keeping them opened is also going on.
Okay. Well, I hope I covered that, right? Yes, it's mandatory, so children will continue to wear masks and the adults in the school will continue to wear masks. And with respect to the barriers, I'm listening to all the feedback. I'll be making a final decision on that really soon, but clearly the feedback is, well stated. Did I miss anything there, Cheryl?
Another comment about kids 5 and under should not be wearing masks according to the CDC and WHO, but it is a mandate by CDC and the New York State Department of Health.
Got it. So when you said WHO, you meant the World Health Organization.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Yep. So of course, all schools are required to follow the New York State Department of Health guidance, and that's what we'll continue to do.
And then a lot of questions about bringing middle school and high school back. If the infection rate starts to go down, what is that plan?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, it would be amazing, right? I mean, it's a community effort to see that rate goes down and to get below 100 cases per every 100,000 in your community. We took a look at that map, the state map, and I think almost every county was red right now. So it's going to take a lot of work for our citizens, for our families, to continue to follow non-pharmaceutical interventions such as mask wearing, hand hygiene, and physical distancing. And those are the non-pharmaceutical interventions. And then you have the pharmaceutical interventions of the vaccine. I think later on in a slide, I'll show the community that the vaccination rate is about 48% of the population of Erie County has had their first dose of that vaccine. So we'll go over that as well. But battling a virus and this pandemic now requires non-pharmaceutical as well as pharmaceutical interventions. So that's what we need to stay vigilant on. So we talked about that contact tracing, so hopefully we made that clear. And it's a constant, when a person, when we become aware of a person who has tested positive, we work hand in hand with the Erie County Department of Health. So that has been something we've been doing since October, when the first cases were evident here in our schools, and we continue to do that today. So some people are asking about summer and opportunities that we hope to offer kids. So I just wanted to go over that with our community today. We are planning, and actually had been planning since our first budget presentation, to offer in-person elementary summer academic intervention here in school starting in July. We are very focused on that. It'll be the first time, I think, in my recollection, that Hughes, Kegabyne, and Sidway will have a summer academic intervention opportunity. We hope to identify up to 25% of our elementary students and offer to their parents the opportunity for this summer intervention. The intervention will occur at Sidway and at Hughes and at Kegabyne. And just roughly speaking, we're looking at offering 100 total seats, if possible, spread out between the grade levels equitably, so that children have an opportunity to come in for 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and be here with us between 8:30 and 11 a.m. and get English and language arts and math instruction in person for those 4 days and for the length of 4 weeks. So that program will start July 12th and conclude around August 6th. And then we continue to offer summer academic intervention at our middle school, but we'll be doubling our efforts there as well. We plan on running this summer middle school intervention for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. This program will start July 6th and conclude August 12th. And the student hours will be from 9 a.m. to noon, same thing, 4 days a week. And of course, we've always been offering summer school at our high school. There will be opportunities for students to participate in credit recovery. And I talked to our summer school principal, who said that her goal is to make certain that students who want to be enriched through taking health this summer will have that opportunity as well. And Cheryl, I know you're pretty proud of this. We're going to be offering mental health services during these summer programs at all levels, the elementary, middle, and high schools. Cheryl, is there anything you wanted to add about summer programming?
Separate than the summer school opportunities, there will be a K-12 special education program that'll run in district this year. A lot of times we have used BOCES in the past, but this year special ed summer school will be run in district. Plus our family support services, Horizons, Family and Children's Services, and Gateway will be offering, also our agencies that will be offering mental health services as well. They will continue with that as they have all year.
Excellent. Somebody asked if we will continue to advocate for a safe return to 5 full days of instruction for all students, and the answer is yes. Some of you may know or may not know that I'm an officer in the Erie Niagara School Superintendents Association. Our association authored 2 letters that advocated for the safe return to 5 full days of instruction. We wrote one letter in February and sent that to the new Commissioner of Education and copied the Lieutenant Governor and the Department of Health and lots of other state representatives. And then we wrote a second letter in March, actually it was March 12th, and we sent that directly to the governor and copied those other entities as well. In our association, we'll continue to meet and advocate for our students now and into the future. I do want to take a moment to share with you just some data that's either Grand Island specific or Erie County specific. Here, some of you may know if you've been watching board meetings or other presentations that I've done, that we've been keeping track of the positive cases that are attributed to the entire island, not just our schools. So I worked with Mrs. Surdike, and we started this chart. And you can see on September 4th, there were 152 individuals who had tested positive for COVID-19 from March of 2020. So from March of 2020 to September 4th, there were 152 individuals. On September 11th, there were 156, and then the 18th, 159. So this chart keeps track of the changes week to week since we started school in September. You can see that the changes were around 2% or 2.5%. There was 1 week where it jumped 7%, but it went down to 2.3%. And then you can see in October, things started to change, right? So from 152 to October 30th, 198, the week-to-week net change went from 2.7 to 5.8% change. Then you can see in November, 25 more individuals on the island, and then November, 32 more, and then 60 more, and 66. And then on December 11th, there were 135 new individuals on the island who had tested positive. It was a 29% change from 1 week to the next. So this chart has been keeping track of all that information. What was really good news is that the numbers started to decline at the end of January. You can see that it was 15% change, 9%, and 7%. And then in February, a 4% change, and then mid-February, a 3% change, 2%. And so we were looking really good from February to March with consistent 2% changes, or even as low as 1.6% or 1.8%. But more recently, on April 1st, it jumped up to a 3% change on the island. And then on April 10th, it jumped another 8%. So this is what this data looks like on a line graph. So you can see the peaks and valleys, the high points, and then a spike here, and then the downward slope, which was awesome. And then it's starting to trend upwards. So earlier we talked about the entire community staying vigilant, following the non-pharmaceutical and now the pharmaceutical interventions, and hopefully we'll be able to control that and see those numbers go down. I already shared with you the recent data on Erie County with that through the CDC website. This was as of April 13th, so a couple days ago. There were 3,500 total cases over 7 days in Erie County, or 382 per the 100,000. So that's important information. And then this shows you, Erie County data with respect to hospitals and those who are hospitalized. This takes you back to March of 2020 and April of 2020, and then that downward trend, which was really good news. And throughout the summer, the very low hospitalization rates. And then, of course, around October, that spike. And it's very interesting that our Grand Island data, this data here on the week-to-week net change, looks very similar to this data as well for hospitalizations. You can see, again, December and January, these high levels of hospitalization, higher than last March and April, and then the downward slope, and then the incremental increase most recently at the end of March. This is a little bit of a closer look. You can see that on March 31st, there were 200 individuals hospitalized in Erie County. Now it's up to 283. This line represents those in intensive care. This line represents those that need airway assist right now. And then this represents the people who have sadly and tragically died. This is important information for those who are interested in how Grand Island is doing with respect to the vaccination. I shared earlier that for Grand Island, it looks like 48% of the population on Grand Island has had their first dose of the vaccine. So that's good news. Jude sent out a community alert that our district will be working with Walgreens, and I want to thank Tom DeGotti for making that connection to us. So thank you, Tom. Tom reached out to us and was working with Walgreens to help bring us together and Jude put together a opportunity for people to get the first it was the Johnson & Johnson and then Walgreens. Obviously Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is on hold. So Walgreens switched to offer Pfizer, which really opened up an opportunity this Saturday for people to register with Walgreens for that vaccination opportunity. And children ages 16 to 18 now are eligible for the Pfizer, which is really great news. And that's going to help us all watch that infection rate decline here on the island and hopefully in Erie County. So we thank you, Tom, and we thank Jude for putting that together, and we thank Walgreens for working with us. Aside from Walgreens, we've worked with Rite Aid, and we've had vaccinations occur right here on our campus. Very successful opportunities, so we thank them. And I know our teachers and our staff were grateful for that opportunity. So thank you to Rite Aid as well. And we had one more partnership with the Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center, and they offered an opportunity for people to get vaccinated as well. So things are moving in a really good direction for the adults in our organization. And now for 16 to 18-year-olds, we're excited about that as well. So one of the frequently asked questions was, what about next year? You know, and I just highlighted that that's an excellent question. It would seem to me, and this is me talking to you, that as we see more in our community becoming vaccinated, the greater the probability vaccinated individuals will not become ill. And the more individuals in our community who become immune to COVID-19, the risk of spreading the virus becomes increasingly unlikely. So if that hypothesis is proven correct, I'm optimistic that all of our schools will be able to return to full in-person teaching and learning in September. Again, if that hypothesis is proven correct. All signs seem to indicate that that's what the science will present to us. We'll continue to watch that carefully. And as always, the district will be prepared for the return to full in-person instruction when future modifications to the mandatory guidance permit us to do so. So that's kind of, those were some of the frequently asked questions that we noticed. Cheryl, how else can we help our community tonight?
So I know you went over this, but can we go back to the live streaming again?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to chunk it all together. So, a couple of questions were, they were participating in virtual learning on Wednesdays. How is that any different than live casting? There was privacy issues with the kids at home being on the computer. Now that, what's the difference between, now that the teachers are live casting, privacy in the classroom, and why all of a sudden, again, is live streaming now instead of at the beginning of the school year?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So I don't know if I have a specific slide about that. Maybe I do. Yeah. So obviously the first thing that I was most concerned about was privacy. I continue to be concerned about privacy. Now, let's just be honest, right? I'm sure teachers and students saw things that were interesting in the home environment during those examples that you mentioned. The Wednesdays, everybody is synchronous. I'm sure teachers could probably say, oh my goodness, this happened with a particular child at home. And conversely, that occurs too here in school, particularly when we're moving now, in a direction of having more kids. So that's why we're moving to the remote, teachers. Everybody who's home will have their own remote teacher. So that's good. Another part of that answer to that question is that teachers here in Grand Island gradually started to adopt live casting on their own without it being a mandate. I want to praise our high school math department for being one of the first entire departments to try live casting early on in September and October. So they were leaders, they were teacher leaders, and their work helped pave the way for others to feel more comfortable with live casting. So it's a confluence of a lot of different factors. Am I still concerned about privacy? Absolutely. And I just beg our community to remember to maintain the privacy both ways. If something happens in the home or something happens in the classroom, let's continue to keep that private.
Once back 5 days a week, if they're quarantined 10 days, how can they keep on top of their schoolwork still? Right now, no big deal. They can just view the weekly calendar that is in the Google Classroom. But answer to that is they now have access to a teacher as well, correct?
Yeah,
Even
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, there are always variables, but we will make certain that children who are quarantined have access to a teacher and the instruction as we've done already since September.
Cameras will be focused on the teacher and not have 20 other faces on the screen, correct?
Yeah, that's true. But again, sometimes unusual things happen in classrooms, right, with students who have unique needs. So even though you may not see the student, you can hear the student.
And, a question about, do you believe that live casting is equal to face-to-face instruction? And please address the increased amount of screen time.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I think face-to-face in-person instruction is always the best approach. So I could never deny that. Every now and then, and I think for people in the education world, sometimes that this approach that we've done with Google Classroom has benefited some students that may have not have been benefited in the traditional classroom. That's why schools talk a lot about alternative education for students who are struggling in that traditional mode. So sometimes there are benefits both ways, but I would say absolutely face-to-face instruction is the best. And what was the other part that you asked?
Addressed, the increase in screen time for all of the students.
Yeah. I mean, the more that we can have kids face-to-face at the elementary level, I would encourage parents to consider that. I understand that there are reasons why, some families might choose the 100% remote option. So I definitely appreciate that. So yeah, I know that it increases screen time. I also think, there are a lot of, if we think about the high school, we were up over 200 students who were 100% remote at one point. For the entire district, it was about 18%, but over 200 students were home for various reasons, right? Some of it was medically related, and some of it was, parent and child choice together. But I do hope that for those individuals now, they have to follow their schedule. They have to log in first period and be with their teacher and, be able to see and hear the instruction going on as it is synchronous. So hopefully we'll see better engagement with our students who may have otherwise not have been as engaged as we would have liked.
Let's see, Mary Jane, as far as the vaccine and the quarantine, it's a CDC guideline for what I was speaking about before. If you go on the CDC website, it talks about the vaccination and quarantining. There's also a lot of talk about if an entire class gets quarantined, will the teacher and the kids be live streaming to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, we've had that, Cheryl, right? We've had situations already where an entire class has been quarantined, or the hybrid part of the class have been quarantined. So we've already been able to work through that. And that usually involves if the teacher is healthy, right? Being able to teach the kids remotely.
Correct. Are we going to turn in the Chromebooks now, now that the elementary students are back full time?
Yeah, I would say no. And that's an excellent question. And I don't think I didn't catch that. If somebody had posted that question in the survey, I'm sorry if I missed that. Excellent question. I would say no. Work with your child's teacher. The teacher may still like some of the Google Classroom tools and Google Suite apps that we have, and may still want the kids to access through their Chromebooks. So it's really going to come down to the teacher choice and what works for the teacher in that particular class.
Let's see. Will the high school schedule be consistent Monday through Friday, or will Wednesday still have a different schedule?
Yep, Wednesday will still have the same schedule it has now, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, it'll be the traditional schedule that's on your child's master schedule.
And Jen, just to answer your question about quarantining, and you said one positive and the whole class is done. That would be something that if we do have a positive in the classroom, I will call the Erie County liaison. She'll ask me a ton of questions before she tells us to pull the plug on an entire classroom. So it'll be situational, and then based on the questions that she has me ask the teacher and the rest of the class. So I'm not going to say one positive in the class is done. It's going to have to be, have to be a lot of variables there. So more to come on that. I'm just going down here. What plans are there for remedial help for elementary children for this? What plans are there for remedial help for elementary children for the summer?
Oh, yeah, excellent. If you joined us a little bit late, we did cover that as a frequently asked question. Of course, this PowerPoint will be posted on our website as well. But I'll just jump to that just to make sure that you're aware that we are trying to designate enough seats for 25% of each building to participate in summer school. We just put out a posting today looking for 27 summer school teachers, and also a school counselor and a special education teacher, I believe. So we're really focused on providing them that support. It'll happen 4 days a week for 4 weeks, and it'll go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8:30 to 11 starting July 12th. And of course, we have a middle school program that'll go from 9 to noon. We're doubling the number of students and the number of teachers there as well. And we have a traditional high school summer school program, all of which is in person. And Cheryl had already mentioned the special education pieces as well.
Preschool, elementary school, or preschool, summer school. I can answer that. Preschool, summer school. That preschool is a county, an Erie County type program. So at this point in time, nobody from Erie County has reached out to us to offer a preschool special education program. Let's see, just a statement, if you don't address the gaps that COVID caused for elementary students, you will have an educational problem that will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for over a decade.
Cheryl, can I talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
So thank you again for posting that. Besides a summer school program, as I've outlined for you, we are working with our principals right now, who will in turn be working with all of our teachers to identify opportunities, not only during the school day, but extended day opportunities, whether it's before school or after school, for remediation and enrichment. So one of the things that we talked about at our last board meeting is that we did receive some federal dollars that we can attribute to summer school, summer enrichment, after school instruction, enrichment, and remediation. And we can also identify some other opportunities during the school day and benefit from those federal dollars. So right now, we're working on a plan for that. I have a meeting tomorrow with Ruby to go over some of the bases, the foundation of that. And we've already met with our administrators to begin putting that together. So thank you, whoever submitted that. Thank you for bringing that up.
A few people want to know about mass breaks in elementary if they're only 3 feet apart and they still have snack in the classroom. Can we still have snack breaks and mass breaks in the elementary classrooms, even though it's been changed to 6 to 3 feet?
Yep, our principals will work with the classroom teachers to make sure that there's a safe distance for a child to have a snack and a safe distance for a child to have a mass break. So it's a work in progress. Principals will work with teachers to make certain that it's safe and that there's an opportunity for kids to have a break when they need it and to have a snack when they need it, as long as they're safe and physically distant from each other.
The survey, and I'm trying to chunk all of these together, so I'm kind of scrolling up and down. Question about why the parents had to choose all or none. why wasn't hybrid a choice if that's what they wanted to do?
Yeah, it's extremely challenging to have three different programs going on at the same time in a school. So I think you'll see our district as well as every other district that I'm aware of offering just those two choices.
Many parents want their children to be back in, not just 4, but 5 days. Let's see, just in. Still questions about live streaming and why now and not before, and I believe you answered that.
And this is Mark Gordon's recording this, so if you came in late and you missed that, you'll see the slides as well as the recording if you missed that.
Busing, are the busing things going to change? Are the busing times going to change for the elementary school?
Yeah, yes, that is a possibility, sure. So I know that our transportation department has, over the course of the last couple of years, developed a way for parents to get that information on their specific bus times. I know Teresa Lizaday and Kelly and her team, that whole team is already working on the rerouting. So I'm sure you'll get a communication from the transportation department on how to access your child's new bus time.
Okay. I'm still trying to kind of chunk everything together. A lot of thank yous. Live streaming, hold on. A lot of things about statistics, and how people play with statistics, that, maybe it's an adult statistic and not a child or student statistic.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, there's lots of ways to analyze statistics. This chart, this screenshot right here just looks at the week-to-week net change of people who became positive on the entire island. So it could have been a student, it could have been an adult, a young adult or middle-aged or senior citizen. But it's really hard to dispute that the change is occurring, and it spiked and came down, and it's on the rise again. So, so that part, it's hard to dispute that.
Kudos to teachers have been incredible with our kids. A couple of teachers are named in the chat about who's done a great job for their children. If my child is fully vaccinated, can he return full time?
Yeah, excellent question. I don't. It's a great question because right now it's 16 to 18-year-olds are being offered the vaccination. So if it's Pfizer and it's relatively new, I think, and Cheryl, you might know the wait time between first dose and second dose.
It depends on if it's Moderna. If it's Moderna, it's 4 weeks in between, and if it's Pfizer, it's 3 weeks. And then it has to be 2 weeks after your last vaccination for you to be fully, apparently, to have the full antibodies and have that 90 days where you probably will not get the virus. So you have a 95% chance of not getting the virus.
Yep. So it's how many weeks?
It's, if you have the Moderna, it's.
No, I know that's 4. But what's Pfizer?
Pfizer's 3.
3 weeks. Okay.
But both Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, in order to be considered fully vaccinated, you have to wait the full 2 weeks after your second dose.
Your second dose. So it's a very difficult question to answer at this point in time. But it's not that I'm trying to shove that under the rug, but there are other variables in play.
Okay. There's Pfizer will be going to 12 years old soon.
Yeah, the county executive seemed to indicate that 12 to 15-year-olds would be eligible in the summer, but maybe it'll happen before the summer, which would be great.
Is there going to be buses for the summer programs?
Ruby and I are going to be talking about that tomorrow, honestly. So we just have to do some calculations, talk about how we can tap into those federal dollars to perhaps provide transportation. More to come on that.
Will there be any exceptions to mask wearing with kids with medical reasons? Absolutely. If a doctor had written a note or writes a note for medical reasons, well, then we would be happy to review that. Will school start time and end times remain the same?
Yes.
Buses during the summer. I have to go back now because when I
Yeah,
was
no-
talking, I
no.
lost it. I lost a bunch.
No problem. We have another, few minutes. We wanted to wind down at 7:00 tonight.
When would parents anticipate hearing about summer opportunities through the district for those kids identified? Believe all of the principals are working on that now, correct?
They are, and what they're going to do is develop a system that looks at teacher recommendation as well as how children have been performing on the iReady, ELA, and math assessments that we've been doing this year. So they'll put together a formula based on teacher recommendation and not only the iReady assessments, but overall student performance, and then come up with a list of individuals who are eligible, invite those parents, and hopefully we'll know about transportation before we reach out to families, and then tally up how many students and parents are accepting that opportunity and make sure that we have the teachers in place. So it's a work in progress, but it's moving very nicely along.
Do we know this? Okay. Thank you, people, for reposting questions that I have missed because there's so many of them. So when can okay. So Kara, I think it was just answered. Oops. Did it just end?
No, we're still on. Can
Okay.
you hear me? Yep. No, I just stopped presenting the slides. That's all.
All right. I answered about the attend summer programming. Got it. Another question. Why are rules broken down by county and not by school district?
That's what the CDC has set forth, and that's what the New York State Department of Health has mandated us to follow. But keep in mind, what I showed you today was that Grand Island is ticking upward.
Okay.
It's not going down. So even Grand Island seems to be mirroring what's happening in Erie County. Again, the most positive news that I saw tonight was that 48% of the population on Grand Island has had their first dose. So that's helpful. Imagine when the second dose is given and there's more opportunity, for people to resist, being sick through that vaccination process. But right now, it just seems like our data on Grand Island is starting to mirror what's happening in Erie County.
Let's see. Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Colleen. Will there be a vaccine requirement to attend school? We have not heard anything as of right now requiring that whatsoever. And I actually had a conversation with our school medical director last week. That is not the case as of right now.
Right.
Let's see. There's a comment. Many have died of other conditions and not just COVID, with some hospitals marking death of COVID when they were not to get more money from the government. Unfortunately, the numbers are inflated now. Can iReady be left open for students to do lessons over the summer to combat the summer slide?
Yeah. Wow. That's a great question. So one of the powerful pieces of iReady, as this parent probably is aware, is that there is an intervention component to it that we have purchased this school year for mathematics. And starting July 1, we will have licenses for English and language arts as well. So what a wonderful question. That's a really great question. And we have already talked about that with our principals, that if if 25% of their school population accepts the summer school opportunity, and then others are on a wait list, that iReady intervention tools for ELA and math can be assigned to children who who are unable to come to the actual face-to-face summer program. So, wow, great question.
Yeah, and then there was a second, will teachers have access to programs or computers over the summer if requested to access educational supports, which you just answered, so which is yes. Another question about fully vaccinated students. If the kids are fully vaccinated before the end of the school year, does that allow them to return to the 5 days?
Yeah,
And
it's a
I'm
great
sure
question.
that's right.
Yeah, there are so many variables to that. Cheryl expressed the variable of first dose of Pfizer,
Mhm.
second dose 3 weeks later, and then another 2 weeks. So it's an interesting question. And let's say that all comes into play. Maybe someone has already had the first dose
Yeah.
last week, for
A couple
example.
of people. Yep, there's a couple of people on here. Yes.
So, I would say that those individuals would communicate with Cheryl and I, or the building principal. Will review them on a case-by-case basis. If your child is, 16, 17, or 18, one of the things that the principals have been doing a tremendous job with right now is trying to bring back students who have individualized education plans based on special education needs. And to do that is a monumental task, because you have to look at all of the classes in a student's schedule and look at the number of students in each of those classes and whether or not they can maintain 6 feet of distancing. So that right now we're struggling right now to process that data and get all those kids with individualized education plans back. And then if we were still hybrid and someone who was fully vaccinated, we would have to do the same process.
Yes. Please contact us regarding. Is the summer program optional? Yes.
It is for elementary,
Mhm.
and it is optional for middle school. But as you get older and you need credits to earn toward graduation, it becomes less optional. So, clearly there will be some kids who, we will mandate that come. And then, of course, it ends up being parent and child choice. But sometimes it can't be optional.
Let's see. A comment, a suggestion. A college, they're requesting maybe a college prep fall or summer course over the summer, and maybe guidance could set something up.
Yep.
And pass that along.
I don't want to get the community's hopes up too high, but we are also looking at things like that. How can we assist with SAT prep, things of that nature? So we are open to ideas. Remember, our principals are going to reach out to their teachers for ideas. So whoever just suggested that, if you're close to your child's teacher and you want to make that suggestion, and that teacher can share it with the principal, or you can just, Cheryl can jot it down and we can share it with the principal. But
Yep.
There will be opportunities in this summer and fall and spring of next year for lots of extra help and enrichment.
So there are parents on here that are concerned about the middle school screening times.
Screening?
Screen times, screen time on the computer. So question is, concerned about the screen time for my middle schooler. There's a few people on here. Are we allowed to opt out of live streaming classes due to this concern over increased screen time?
No, I don't.
It's not effective for my child.
Yeah. So anything of that nature, I would encourage the parent to set up a meeting with your child's principal or teachers or school counselors to talk about your child's unique needs and the variables that may exist with respect to screen time. But clearly, moving to the live casting is designed to offer children and families who are choosing that 100% remote option to have access to that direct instruction that's occurring in the classroom, for each period of the day that their child is engaged.
And do we have a timeline on when everybody's going to find out about the new school times and bus times for the elementary schools.
Yeah, as far as the bus, that'll be directed right out of transportation. I think they already have a system where they can alert families to, log in. I apologize, I don't know the granular details of that system, but I believe you have to log in maybe in the portal or some other tool to find your child's bus time. So that's exactly as it would occur, before school starts. So that process will be in play, I believe. So we'll get more information, but that communication will come from transportation.
A lot of stuff at the end about, can you address the wait list for the high school hybrid model at some point?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. I know that the high school had a deadline for parents to communicate to the high school one way or another if children were staying 100% remote or returning. So I know there was a deadline. So maybe that's why there's a wait list. And remember, there may be a wait list because now we still have to follow 6 feet of distancing, and we have to make sure that those classrooms are safe. So just be patient, work with your building principal, and hopefully that'll be resolved soon.
How can kids get mental health help in person?
Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, and I guess it depends on, what grade level we're looking at, but the elementary school, starting the 26th, will be fully in person. So we actually did hire a new counselor / social worker at the elementary level. Her name is Miss Sino. She is available and ready. We also have Gateway. Gateway is in person on Fridays, half of the morning half at Cuth, and then the afternoon half at Kegabyne. That is also in person. We also have Julie Ann McGrath at the elementary school to help with mental health issues as well for our elementary students. If anybody at the middle school or high school is having any mental health issues and they need to see somebody in person, we have many people available that should be seeing the students in person if that is a request. We have Jessica Hutchings at the middle school, plus we have 2 other middle school counselors, Lori Cordero and Michelle Page. At the high school level, we just hired a counselor / social worker. Her name is Jennifer Patterson. Plus we have our counselors and our school psychologist, Michelle Smock, Molly Bowers, Jackie Walters, Cheryl Kavanaugh, and Christina Kenzie. At this time, our family support services, Horizons and Family and Children, they are virtual, but we are hoping that as soon as July hits, that they will be back in person as well, because we are having in-person summer school.
Cheryl, does it share with you or Mark, do we know how many people were able to join us tonight?
You know what? I can't tell that.
That's okay. Maybe Mark knows, but I can't, thank you enough for being with us tonight. We did want to wrap up around 7, but Cheryl, I'll hold, if you have any new questions that are different.
Yeah, but just when I was talking, I lost track of some. So just see if I can, there's just a few more.
No problem.
Talking about next year, what is the plan for the fall to get all the kids back at 3 feet? And I thought you addressed that before, Dr. Graham.
Yeah. But again, if you came in late, this will be posted, and these, frequently asked questions will also be posted in our reopening page. But the fall, we're very optimistic. I just don't want to mislead the community. Right now, we've had, we see more and more people are being vaccinated. Earlier Cheryl said that a parent communicated that students ages 12 to 15 may be eligible for Pfizer soon. Right now it's just 16 to 18. So clearly those pharmaceutical interventions are going to play and weigh heavily on returning things to as normal as possible in the future. And then following distancing and mask wearing also help. And quite honestly, Cheryl, right, if somebody has developed antibodies, that also protects the system, if I'm not mistaken. So that's, I think, the definition of herd immunity, right? The greater number of people that are vaccinated and the greater number of people that have the antibodies help to protect everybody else.
And then just because you had met a count, 250 people at peak, and then the last person said, the very last one said about 161 people now.
Okay.
And again, when should elementary parents expect to be notified about the new school and bus times? You said they're working on those now,
Yep.
correct?
Yes. So April 26th, you can count on April 26th as, the start of our 5 full days of instruction for Sidway Youth and Kegvine.
Yep.
And transportation will, they're working on it now, so they'll communicate that soon.
I think that was the last
Excellent.
question.
Thank you. I know this isn't a perfect world, right? I know that all of us have suffered one way or another, right? Whether it's somebody that you loved who's been hospitalized or sick, or unfortunately, maybe somebody has passed away in your family. I know that people that I'm close to have experienced that. I know that my own son, in his junior year, that his life is different than it was last year, right? Whether it's, coming to school or participating in sports or participating in extracurricular activities. So I can only thank you for your patience. I can only thank you for your ability to be adaptable. I can only thank you for demonstrating and role modeling being flexible in this pandemic, in this worldwide pandemic. And I can only thank you for role modeling the skill of resiliency, right? Because if any of us together are struggling with those things, it makes our family life and our personal life and our professional life even more difficult. I am blessed to be the superintendent in this district. I am blessed to work with high quality teachers, administrators, and staff and confidential clerks. They really are outstanding. I understand that this world that we're living in now is divided in many ways, shapes, and forms, and that adds to the anxiety and the stress that we all are enduring every day. And I can only thank you for your patience and your ability to demonstrate these skills, not only for your fellow family, but for your community, your neighborhood. I know in our community, we're taking care of a neighbor who needs some help. And I know you're doing the same in your neighborhood. And together, we'll get through this. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and things are looking a little bit more optimistically. I want to thank our coaches and our fine arts teachers. We had our first live streamed choir concert on March 30th in the auditorium. It was unusual, right? Kids were wearing masks and singing beautifully. The sound actually was outstanding. Mrs. Mernitz did an amazing job with the students. Matt Els came down to talk about an orchestra concert that he's planning in the auditorium. We have resumed sports. We have kids wearing masks, playing basketball and volleyball. I mean, it's truly outstanding to see how people have adapted in this pandemic. And I know that we will all be better for it with those skills. And then with those skills in play, we here are committed to doing everything we can to help with learning loss or mental health issues that are arising. And we're here for you and your family. So don't ever hesitate to reach out. Cheryl and I and our whole team, we're very responsive. We will get back with you and we will make sure that you get the help that you need. Cheryl, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, there's just there's lots of thank you. So, thank you everybody for those. But I just do want to address two quick things. Jen, you said someone that didn't get the survey back in March. Can they still fill it out to come back full time? Please make sure that whoever that person is, that they contact the building principal. To come back full time. So they can contact the building principal by phone or email directly. And then I also want to address a comment that somebody was asked for help in the beginning of the year for mental health services and was blown off multiple times. Hopefully this changes. If you're still experiencing that, please don't hesitate to call me. And I will point you in the right direction and help you get those services that you need.
Excellent. So again, thank you. Thank you for the 250 people that joined the live stream today at various points. And again, thank you for always giving us the feedback and sharing your honest perspective on things. It is valued. Have a good evening, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Take care. Good night.